All right, hello and welcome to PolyInnovator. I simply wanted to go over my reading list from Medium. I have been on Medium for about 5 years now as a reader and as a writer, and I wanted to share with what I saw on here as something that was interesting. So all these different posts I've looked at over the years, I thought, okay, these are worth saving. Some of them were the special paid posts, so I had to just save them until I had the free plan because as you can see, I do not have the membership anymore. I paid for it for a couple months, never used it nearly enough to make it worthwhile. And not to mention too, the whole paid member wall is why I stopped working on the platform as itself. So I'm just going to quickly go through and explain my mentality behind why I saved these posts and why I still think Medium is an interesting platform as a reader and why you might want to come on here and just check out what they have and see what you can learn. First and foremost, Isaac Morehouse created an alternative education system with his team, and they had a lot of great blog posts around the alternatives to college, and this was the counter signal of college. I thought that was useful. For a while there, I was using chatbots and trying to experiment with those, with ManyChat in particular, and in Chatfuel as well. And this was quite a while back that I saved this, I think, or at the very least, I saved it this year, but it was quite a while back when I was actually looking at chatbots. I never really got around to really mastering those, and so I just turned them all off for the most part, but it is something that's, I think people can't ignore. So I'm trying to at least somewhat learn about them over the course of the next few years. Gary Vee had a very interesting book launch, and so I haven't read this post yet, but I thought that'd be worthwhile reading. It's only a short post. Mini degree. This caught my eye because of the whole modular degree concept. I thought maybe I could use this as a way to, first off, maybe use as a basis for a mini degree on growth marketing, or modular degree in growth marketing, and as well as I was just curious to see what Mert had wrote when it comes to this whole micro credential. This is another post that I actually just opened up so I can read. I saved it because I'm probably going to want to come back to it. Michael Simmons is a great writer. 100-hour rule. I mean, depending on where you're looking at on the scale of knowledge and where you're actually looking at when it comes to understanding a certain topic, 100 hours is definitely a long time. So when it takes swimming, for example, when I teach it, if I have the most optimized process, which at this point of me teaching, I can usually make it as optimized as possible, depending on how the student is. If the student is extremely willing to learn and extremely willing to accept the information I give that person, then it's going to be way easier, because most of swim lessons is a information dump and then practice, because you have to practice properly in order to get better. And that's how it is with any skill. But I think swimming is a very definable skill. Hey, you have to swim with the proper form as best you can over and over and over again. And eventually that form will just start to set in stone. The muscle memory will kick in. And I think that usually takes around at least 3 sessions. Each session is about 6 lessons, and depending on what they pay for, 30 minutes or an hour each. So it usually takes at least 20 hours, 30 hours to get relatively good at swimming. And that goes for if someone's actually actively learning. If they're having a hard time with the whole mental block, that's going to take longer. And this same thing happens when it comes to any skill. So 10,000 hours supposedly to become an expert. That's usually top 20% in the expertise field. You don't need to be the top 20% to be an expert in something. You just need to be really well knowledgeable, at the very least, to be way better than everyone else. That's really all you need to be more expertise in that field. My wording there was not ideal, but you get what I mean. 20-hour rule was a TED Talk. You can basically become way better than most people after 20 hours. Given 100 hours, you can become world class because there's so little people who've given that much effort into that skill. The decentralized internet, when it comes to Web3, it's right around the corner, especially when it comes to content creation. It's not something we could ignore. I think it's a pretty obvious why that one's saved. This one, I'm actually not sure. I think strategy is one of those things that I've always been very interested in, and I intuitively know, but I don't necessarily know the education behind strategy. So I never did much research on the whole win-win, or what is it called? The game principle or something like that. What is it called? I'll mention it in a second. But the next one, writing on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a big post platform where you're actually actively adding to your subscribers' knowledge base, and it's a very professional network. Just pretty simple as that. And this might seem kind of boring at the moment. I know I'm going through some of these more boring posts, but as we keep going, it's going to get more and more sporadic, and that's why I thought this video would be worthwhile. Such as zero-off principles thinking. And so how do we come up with a unique idea? How do we actually come up with something that hasn't been come up before? And for the most part, 99% of the time, you're not going to come up with anything people haven't come up before. But the way you go about it, and if you actually succeed with it, that's what differentiates you. Again, decentralization, Web3, blockchain. You're going to see a lot of those posts on there because a lot of those experts, I guess you could say, they all write on Medium for the most part. There's a lot of Substacks now, but back in the day, 2018 is when this was saved. Then there's a big jump there, 2021, 2018. And that's where a lot of this kind of more interesting topics were put in out. Gamifying my life is something I've always been interested in. I've been a gamer since I was still in the single digits in age. And the thing is, too, with Notion, you can really do it. And there's a lot of interesting ways of going about it. But this was I think it was pre-Notion. So this was interesting. Python for marketers. And then also automating marketing with Python. These two posts right here. It's kind of weird how I think the years keep jumping around because I don't remember how it's sorted. But Python is an actual coding language that I've been able to understand a little bit. I tried learning other ones, but it just did not quite work. I'm looking forward to this one because I actually haven't fully read Range. I know it's kind of sacrilege considering my niche, but David Epstein has made a lot of content around Range. And so I kind of feel like I got the gist of the book just from watching all of his interviews. And when I say all of his interviews, I pretty much watched all of his interviews at this point. And I also haven't gotten around to reading all the blog posts about him and the book itself. And so this is one that I saved in there. And I actually have a PolyPro post lined up for people to check out at some point once I finish the book and re-watch those videos and probably reread a lot of these blog posts. So this is saved for that post. This is just talking about Google's little new things that they had. Honestly, I looked into them. They weren't really that appealing, but for some people that might be really actually helpful. This just had a really great title, to be honest. I was like, that caught my eye. I'm going to save it, but it's paid. A lot of these posts I haven't read because they're paid. This one actually has 15-minute read, which means it's an actual blog post. A lot of these blog posts are just updates, basically. They're social updates. They're Facebook posts. They're not actual blog posts, and yet they're still trying to charge for them. That's why I left the platform, because crap like that kept happening. All right, this was cool. So Alex Dunstan, he was one of the people that came on the Polycast, actually probably halfway through. He was like my 36th or 40th guest. I don't know how I got this amazing person on my show. I literally just came across his linking brain concept and just looked at various people's different linking brain posts, such as like this guy right here, Mark. And I was like, you know what? This sounds like a multidisciplinarian. It sounds like someone who would be perfect for the show. And I reached out to Alex, and he was willing to come on. I think we had a very fascinating conversation. I look forward to being able to talk to him again. And I wanted to make my own Linky Brain post at some point, and I guess I just never got around to it. So I have some of these posts here. Plus, this was a really interesting one to save. Katie Patrick, TED Talker, really positive content creator. I wanted to read more about her, and so that's why I saved that one. Micro copywriting, essentially just the blog post kind of content, like, for example, the excerpts and the TLDR sections and whatnot. Information architecture, I can't tell you how many times that has saved me. The way I organize my data on my computer and on Notion is unique. And I thought that I was not unique. I thought that I was doing nothing special. I thought we all just did that and we all organized our data in our own way. Turns out a lot of people are just throwing everything to the wall and hoping things that stick. And that's how they organize their data on their computer. They don't have nice folders situated. They don't have a, table in their head, or chart in their head of like the way that it's all set up. And it's like, why? Like, you got to have some sort of like system. And so, yeah, anytime information architecture comes in my view, I always talk about it. Eisenhower matrix, I just need to get better at decision making. That's pretty simple why I saved that one. Any kind of marketing blog post that can get my attention, I usually save. It's only a 6-minute read, so it probably won't be that big of a deal. But again, it's paid, so I haven't read it yet. Chatbots, we talked about that earlier. This was kind of interesting too, because the way Netflix actually algorithm works is completely unique. And I thought if there's a way to take that same idea and put it towards an education system platform, like the modular degree platform, that's why I saved that. And that's something that I haven't talked about much. And then finally, we got some more stuff about IPFS and just getting some more decentralized content. And I really wanted to get some sort of website for PolyInnovator on IPFS. So that way, if my regular site doesn't stay on, which is built on HTTP, then I can put it on this protocol, and hopefully then like something that I create out there will be permanent. Any kind of philosophical posts, Nietzsche is always really interesting. Again, Python content creation. It's such a niche topic and not many people think about it, but okay. So a good example is those Reddit videos. Not everyone's seen them, but they basically make these videos out of text-to-speech and screen captures. So there's an automated script with Python where they find like the most popular Reddit subreddits and whatnot, And then they take screenshots of the questions and some of the answers, and then just using text-to-speech and some animation rules, and just making videos and adding like CC0 music to the background, making videos that end up going viral and have a huge upside on viewers. And it's just one of those things where it's fascinating. I've been seeing it on TikTok too now. It's just ridiculous. And so I wanted to see if I could find a way to do that with other content as well. No degree required. Isaac Morehouse, like I said in the first blog post, a lot of alternative to college stuff. Organizing education and how to go about it, definitely useful. Creating your own curriculum, that's exactly what I was going for with the modular degree. I figured maybe I can talk to David about the modular degree system and or use this blog post as inspiration for another blog post. This I have no idea, honestly. Video games will care about you. Honestly, with AI and how things are going about, it's going to be a very immersive experience. I know we're kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel here, but we're only about halfway down, to be honest. So if you want to hop off at this point, I understand, but I think it's going to get pretty interesting towards the end as well. Dr. Seuss, very philosophical person, not the greatest person in life from what I hear, but he has a lot of things that people can learn. Any kind of resource like this, I try to keep around just in case there's something I'm missing. I can go back to this post and see, okay, what are those YouTube channels I can learn from? Any kind of Ikigai post is not common. So found one for entrepreneurs. Okay, sounds good. You know, if there's a blog post in this list that you are very interested in reading and you're just curious about what it says, leave a comment on the video and then I'll go through my list and find it for you and I'll reply to your comment with the link. Reimagining education through the blockchain, again, with the blockchain post, but the modular degree platform I did envision as kind of a blockchain-based system. Dopamine fast. I don't understand this very well, and that's one of the I'm happy to admit that because it's something that I have not spent any time learning, and someone who spends a lot of time like doing things that give me dopamine, like watching videos and playing games and listening to music and interacting with people. It's more oxytocin at that point, but still, you know what I mean. Doing a dopamine fast I think will be very helpful, and I need to do a regular intermittent body fast as well. Some more IPFS stuff. Ayurveda, like there's a lot of natural medicine and natural science behind a lot of this stuff. And so I wanted to get kind of a little introduction to that. E-learning content. This was just unique. I don't understand why I put that on there, honestly. Okay, I'll stop when I see something. Fourth Industrial Revolution, something that everyone should be learning more about anyways. Plato. This was interesting. Like a lot of people don't really do enough when it comes to their descriptions and like titles, and honestly I don't really do that much anymore. I kind of just follow the same pattern that I did before, but I tried to make sure that pattern was really good when I started. Interesting topic. I'm a first draft slut. I don't like editing my stuff, so that's what caught my eye. Again, chatbots. Biohacking has always caught my eye, despite the fact that I haven't really done much besides nootropics and there's other supplements too. Yeah, so I was basically just going through this list anyways for myself so I can open up a handful of tabs right here. But for the most part, I just thought, like, you know, some of these are really interesting, and I always end up basically removing them once I get done with reading them or open up a new tab. So I figured maybe making a video right now and sharing it with the world would be a good idea. All right, thank you for watching. Thanks for staying this long. Bye.